May I speak in the name of God, in whom we live and move and have our being. Amen. Let's start with a little game of Name That Tune. Put your hand up when you recognize the song. I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have. Yeah. Anyone? Money, money, money. ABBA, thank you. Or another famous song, I won't sing this one. Money makes the world go round. The world go round, the world go around. You know that one from Cabaret? As Christians, we believe that God's creative energy makes the world go round. It's God's spirit that sustains the universe. But the way our society works, money is at the heart of many things. As my grandmother used to say, money isn't everything, but it helps. Money helps us do wonderful things, build cathedral towers, repair clear-story windows, purchase fair trade products, support Hope into Action to buy houses for homeless people, that charity arriving in our town. Money itself is neither good or bad, it's how we use it. And used well, wonderful things happen. Locally, Girls' Night Out last weekend to support the hospice. Internationally, development in poor countries around the world and poor communities. You may know the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation targets women in Southeast Asia. For cultural reasons, women in that part of the world manage the family's finances. So giving them access to mobile phones and to banking through mobile phones can transform the opportunities of those families and their communities. Money isn't everything, but it does help. At the same time, there are serious questions to ask about our economic system and our financial priorities. The priest, Dom Helder Camara, famously said, "When I give food to the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist." For all the good that money does, the economic system has godlike status for many of us. In this morning's gospel, Jesus declares, "You cannot serve God and wealth." How do you hear that wisdom? Elsewhere, Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." What do we serve? What is the object of our devotion and effort? For many of us, of course, it's confused, ambiguous. We are caught between, on the one hand, our love for God and our commitment to our faith, and on the other, our comfortable lives and our attachment to pleasures and material comforts. I say I'm really talking about myself. I speak from daily experience. We can't serve God and wealth, but we can serve God with our wealth. Those of us who have more than we need, we can give generously to good causes. We can choose to live more simply, that others may simply live. The challenge of Amos calls to us down the centuries. Hear this, you that trample on the needy and bring to ruin the poor of the land. Amos teaches us that God is not interested in our worship if we treat people who are poor and needy with contempt. But we can worship God with our money if we care for people less fortunate than we are. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. The two are one. worshipping God and loving our neighbour. They are the same thing. So what do you make of this strange parable that we've heard in the gospel reading? It is confusing, isn't it? The dishonest steward is commended. Being faithful with dishonest wealth means you'll be trusted with true riches. What does all that mean? One way to understand it is through the last couple of verses of the gospel reading. The Pharisees, who were lovers of money, are the target of Jesus' teaching. I think Jesus is bursting their bubble. I think he's pulling the legs of his listeners, mocking their obsession. So the parable is like many others, criticizing the religious authorities' love of wealth, status, power, and the way they put those loves above the love of God and neighbour. The dishonest ways they justified their wealth and position. In that sense, Jesus is repeating the message of Amos. But notice too the deeper teaching here. Jesus is highlighting intention and attachment. Jesus is asking how we see ourselves. What are the things you use to define yourself? How do you judge your value? What are you attached to? Money, wealth is a big one, but it's one among many. The temptations for clergy are the same today as the time of Jesus and the Pharisees, as we sit up here in our finery. Jesus' searing critique is about the things we feel superior about. Where do you feel superior to others? Wealth and privilege, perhaps? Status, education, the colour of your skin? Your view of faith, perhaps? Your view of faith compared to other Christian traditions? Watch out as well for inverse snobbery, of course. It's worth taking time to reflect carefully for yourself. Take time to reflect carefully for yourself and be as honest as you can. Take time to reflect carefully because you're worth it. God longs for us to know the fullness of life that comes from knowing we are children of God. God longs for us to know the fullness of life that comes from knowing we are children of God. That value is above all else. To define ourselves in any other way is a compromise. There are various aspects of our lives worth reflecting on. This morning we are invited to consider our relationship with wealth. So I'll end with some words from another's favourite song about money, but I won't sing this. Life is just a bowl of cherries. Don't take it serious. Life is too mysterious. You work, you save, you worry so, but you can't take the dough when you go, go, go.